do better than me.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the channel. Welcome back to the first ever live Base Talks, I guess, with your host, Base the Kid. As always, like and subscribe, share with a friend, colleague, relative, an associate, an enemy, any and all in between. It's appreciated, as always. So, in about 10, 15 minutes or so, I do have the pleasure of being joined by, as I like to call her, savagely sweet Caroline Dubois, ahead of her upcoming WBC interim and IBO title defense of the light heavyweight title for the women versus Myra Moneo. Got some interesting questions that I'd like to ask, but generally this is a catch up, it's a chat, just sort of basically seeing how things are. And where the very last time we spoke, it was at I believe it was the public workout between Dan Aziz and Joshua Buatsi before their bout actually got postponed. So that was, I think, early October last year. So, a good sort of 10 months ago, just a bit of a catch up to see kind of what's been going on. A few questions maybe that I've never asked or had the opportunity to ask, ask about things maybe has gone on in the past. There's, some hard questions, some potential, allegations of quote unquote ducking, some fights that maybe she hasn't been keen to take in the past, or maybe some other fights that she has been keen to take which haven't happened. There's fair and due process for all types of questions, and just to get a better understanding, more so of anything, of just the landscape of what's kind of been happening with her, and ultimately where she kind of sees herself fitting in the lightweight division currently. So with that being said, that's it. She will be joining hopefully in about sort of the next 5-10 minutes, and in that meantime, I'm just gonna chop it up with you guys, trying to get more content on the channel. By the way, Basis Picks will be out a little bit later on today. Apologies that it wasn't recorded and uploaded yesterday as normally done. I had a very full day, and a lot of family were basically in the house, and I just did not have the chance to record in peace and quiet. So as you do, little delay, but it's all good. Let's see who's jumped in the chat thus far. Hopefully more and more people will sort of join. That's why I kind of wanted to open this up like sort of 10-15 minutes early, just to give everyone the opportunity to jump in. So shout out to man like Muller number one in the building. Big ups to you. Toby Bartlett in the building. Shout out Toby. Reese Cooper as well. Lance Atlantia, shout out to you. Thank you very much for joining on this very special live stream. So yeah, ladies and gentlemen, it's just, as I said, nice little relaxing one. It'll be interesting. I'm pretty sure it'll be interesting. Wonder what can we talk about? Put some, if you got a topic or anything in the chat you want to sort of discuss very briefly before the lady in question does step in, please let us put it down in there. Let us know. Just check my messages while I'm doing that. Hey, Muller, you know who's a bit conspicuous by their absence right now? There doesn't seem to be any Philip Ansel. I wonder what, he normally likes to be the the number one on the crown. I wonder where he's at. Yeah, be interesting. Toby, how's she with her dad? He seems a good but dominant, eccentric type of guy. Yeah, I'm pretty sure we can touch on that that question, or at least topics in and around that. Shout out to Cuz D'Amato in the building as well. Also, obviously, to let everyone know that once Caroline does join, as always, my focus will be directly on sort of her questions, engaging with her. So there will be very little opportunities for me to actually get into the chat and take out new questions. So what I would try and suggest, if you've got questions, try and get them in now before she jumps in, and so that I can try and remember to ask them towards the end. Any that you kind of want done impromptu, the only way that you're going to get my attention, that, you know, guaranteed, if it ends up in the form of super chats and it changes the color on the screen underneath, I'll know that there's something there that I need to direct my attention to. So I will go and then I will make sure that I get into dig into the chat and sort of ask those questions. Anything else, like I said, there may be a 30-70 chance I see it to ask it. So that's up to you of how badly you want it answered, if at all. But yeah, I will kind of leave that one in you guys' capable hands. Now, 1 second, bear me. I just need to drop the camera off while I just go and pick something up for this. Give me a moment. Mother, it's a good question. With the Shields fight contesting light heavy and heavy, it could be unpopular, but mainly just a pro game. Do you think the women's weights should be adjusted to make them more competitive? No, do you know what? I don't, because every weight except every weight up until like super middleweight has people within it. The most you could really do is maybe say, all right, you got middleweight, and then super middleweight and up is just, maybe they change the name of it to, you know, like the heavyweight division or so. But I mean, look, you've got women that can make 168, and they have been making 168. And then light heavyweight and heavyweight are essentially the same weight class. It's all 175 and above. So they don't have like cruiser, they ain't got bridge or anything like that. You know, there obviously are women, I suppose, that do compete or have competed above 168 pounds. But maybe that would be the way to go. You make middleweight, and then after middleweight, everything other than that becomes heavyweight. And so everyone can kind of, I guess, mix and match in there, because realistically, like, the power and the weight disadvantage and the size will all kind of be similar. But yeah, to be honest, all of the weight divisions are competitive until you get to like 154. That's where sort of the competitiveness starts to dwindle, and then from that 154 upwards is where, you know, you get the least amount of competition. So yeah, I mean, unless you were figuring to make heavyweight the like 147 or the 154 division the heavyweight division of women, but obviously then there will be, you know, you'll get some 154 pounders facing women that you know, want to come in at 182. Maybe they might think about that, but yeah, not sure. That makes sense. I've never really looked beyond the middle. Yeah, I mean, look, super. If you think super middle is Franchon Cruz, you know, you've also got Shadeja Greens at super middle, Savannah Marshall was super middle. You know, there are a couple of women that do weigh more than 168, but realistically, yeah, anything If you just said 168 and above is just all one division, that would be the only way that you could maybe adjust all of them personally. But yeah, interesting point though. Shout out to iLuke, big up to you. Just check to see what's going on here. Okay. I'm hoping this light holds out on me as well. It should do, but I really need to order that new ring light and order it like yesterday. Okay, officially 11. So hopefully should be joined any moment now. Okay, ladies and gentlemen, luckily, right on time. There's no BPT today. Shout out, ladies and gentlemen, to the IBO lightweight champion of the world and the soon-to-be WBC interim lightweight champion of the world, savagely sweet Caroline Dubois. Caroline, how you doing?
I'm very well, thank you. You and yourself?
I'm well, thank you. Very well. Pleasure to have you as always. As I was saying to the people before you came on, this is about 9/10 months since the last time I spoke to you, so it's good to have a little catch up. Quickly though, just before I do start, how much time have we got this morning?
How much time would you want?
Oh, I mean, look, there's a lot I could speak about. So, as much time as you can give, to be honest. Obviously, I'm working to your schedule. You are the one with the big shot on the next weekend. So, we're working on your time here.
I mean, 20 minutes. How does that sound?
Yeah, okay, good. We get that done. All right. So, I think the first things I wanted this would be more of a chat than an actual interview as such, because like I said, this is a catch up for us. It's an ability for us to just be able to kind of see what you've been doing. I guess since the last time we spoke, but I think one thing I want to sort of ask you, especially to start off with. So when you first obviously turned over, and then you went to like the McGuigan's gym with Shane, at that time there was a period where obviously you was there and you had your brother there as well. Now, me being an older brother, I know sometimes my sister she used to want to compete with me on certain things. And I was just wondering, when you two were sort of in the gym, did that whatever make you want to like step it up harder, or do better than he was doing in the gym for your own benefit, or did you not really have that kind of relationship at that time?
Not really. I mean, I would say obviously, I think as athletes we're competitive. We see each other. We want to not necessarily be better than each other, but just compete and I guess bounce off each other. So but with Daniel, I would never say that there was any of that because it's just so different. Daniel's a guy, I'm a female, Daniel's a super heavyweight, I'm a lightweight. We're just different in that sense, and our temperaments are quite different too. So I never felt a need to compete or anything like that with Daniel. I knew that our boxing careers are going to be totally different in the sense of how quickly we moved, what direction we moved. Female fighters, as a rule of thumb, we move really quickly. we're fighting for world titles, we're in world title contention in our like ninth fight, and sometimes even sooner than that. Whereas guys, they take a little bit more time. They have more of a building process, and because of that, we're just so different. There was never really a competitive like, oh, let's see who can get to this quicker, who can win a world title quick, or who can do this quick, or who can do this better, and who can get, we're just so different. The way we fight, women fight 10 twos, guys fight 12 threes. So, there was never really any, we were just such a different sport, even though we're in the same sport. It was just, there was no competition.
Okay, so I guess in that sense, then there wouldn't have been much, I guess, difference between when you two sort of, I guess, split from the same gym. But with one thing with you, a lot of people mention this. I mentioned this back in the day, and I think I may have even told you, like when you first came out, obviously, initially you were young, sort of coming out of the Olympics, about
Yeah.
what, 19, 20 years old. You had a bit of the nervous energy, but you seemed like you was trying to embrace that from early. And it did take Daniel quite a bit longer to maybe come out of his shell and be the, that personality that people are obviously loving now. Whereas you kind of, it came a lot quicker to you. What do you think the difference was in that sense of how you was able to sort of gravitate to the limelight a bit quicker than he did?
Um, like I said before, I think we're just different. Even though people look at brothers and sisters as, I guess maybe there's an expectation that they're gonna be similar, but the truth of the matter is, you can get five different kids and brothers and sisters, and they're all different. Different temperaments, different attitude, different mindset, different personalities, and I think that's clear and apparent to see with me and Daniel is we're totally two different people. I've got seven brothers and sisters, and none of us are the same. We all have different attitudes, mindsets, perspectives, and the way we go about things is just, we all are individuals in our own sense. And I think the way that I took to boxing and turning pro was just, what's the word, proof of like, our attitudes and our mindsets are just different.
Okay, fair enough. Yeah, I'll pretty much leave it there with the brother talk. I guess maybe one quick word on, obviously he's going to be facing Anthony Joshua in September. That luckily takes place after your fight, so you will be able to either be in attendance or to be able to watch the build up. How do you kind of see all of that going at the minute?
Yeah, I mean, I haven't really been paying too much attention to it, to be honest, but I think a lot of it's captured the British people's mind and public's attention. I think British boxing has been craving a massive heavyweight domestic clash. I think AJ was always destined to fight Tyson Fury, and that was built up for so long. And now that there's a chance it's falling through. But Daniel stepped up to the plate, and I feel like that's like good enough. People are excited for that fight just as much as they were for the Tyson Fury fight. So, I think the build up is going to be intense. The public seem truly invested in it. You got split opinions on how it's going to turn out. So that's always a good thing. You don't want to fight where people are always going, oh, nah, this is going to be a whitewash. It's going to be so totally in the favor of one person. We want it to be split. We want it to be competitive and arguments leading up to the fight about who will win. And this fight truly seemed to invoke that and got that sense of about it. So, I truly think it's going to be a great fight, and the British public are going to love it, and that's what boxing fans need.
Love that. So look, now let's talk about you. Let's obviously get into, obviously, while we're here, and talk about your fight coming up next week. Um, I guess just before that, you said a moment ago that that you've got a lot of brothers and sisters. I think, where is it, 8 of you in total?
7.
7 of you in total. Okay. Now there's a lot of, I guess, sometimes when you've got that many brothers and sisters, there's a lot of pressure to succeed, or there's a lot of sometimes pressure to stand out, especially if you don't have your own particular lane. So how have you been able to, I guess, carve your opportunity out, I guess, within, such a big family, such a big and driven family? What did you have to do, and sort of what kind of maybe internal strength has that kind of given you moving forward?
Yeah, so the seven of us, I'm the middle child, and you know how it goes. The middle child doesn't get enough, so we're always craving more, and we always want more. And I think as a young kid coming through, I was never meant to be a boxer. My dad's plan was to make, all the boys box, and the girls, I don't know. But he was initially very focused on, the boxes, and the boys that were boxing, and that was where all the attention and the attention was given. And obviously, as the middle child, I guess, that reflected badly on me, and I was like, I want some of that. I felt like I could do it. I felt like I had it inside of me, a fire, a burning desire to go out, help my brothers and sisters, and do something for myself. I think every child should be given the chance to prove themselves, and just, max themselves out, and see how far they can go, be it in sport or in whatever it is they choose to be. I think that should be given to everyone. And luckily, I feel like I always say I was never meant to box, but I always feel like God put something inside of me that burning desire inside of me. And I was the only one out of all the children who actually asked to box. My dad put my brothers in box, and I was the one who was like, this is what I want to do. This is, I used to pester him and cry about it when he didn't take me and stuff. And that wasn't, no one else did that. That was inside of me, and I feel like it was God who put that inside of me. So to put me where I am today, he put that desire, that burning feeling inside of me, and I've taken it and run with it, and I've done so good so far. So I'm thankful every day that, I feel like this is destined and something that I'm supposed to be doing.
I hear that, and you have done amazingly thus far. And I guess obviously speaking that you said, your dad was a bit hesitant to put you in there initially. Um, Feel free to say move on, but I know as maybe Tanya would have said. I know that you two had a bit of a disagreement the other day. I mean, how are things with you? I guess now in terms of your relationship with him,
With who?
your dad. I know you two had a little bit of a falling out the other
Oh,
day.
yeah. Yeah, I don't speak to my dad anymore. Um I guess, as you say, there's a disagreement, and just on a, what's the word, like, moral standpoint, and disagreement of how things went about, and how, you know, I feel like things happened. And I just, I feel like if you disagree with someone, and you don't want to be a part of someone, you have a right to step away. And I stepped away. It wasn't just me; it was my brothers and sisters as well. They stepped away with me, and it's just the way it is. Unfortunately, it's the way the penny falls, and I feel like everything happens for a reason. I'm not mad about it or anything. It had to happen, and for me to better my boxing career and fully focus on being the best Carolyn that I could be, I had to step away. Otherwise, you wouldn't see the best me if I was still, around my dad, unfortunately. So I had to step away to just better myself and be the best Carolyn I can be. I need to grow up, learn about things, learn about life, learn about, make mistakes. And I think as a child, you always want your parents to be there for you. And if you make a mistake, they're there to catch you and pick you up and support you in that. And I didn't feel like I had that, so I had to step away and do it on my own.
I hear that. Fair enough. Thank you very much for elaborating on that. I do appreciate it. Um, So look, let's talk about Myron Moneo for a little bit, and then there's a couple questions I do want to ask you just after that. Now, I've seen a couple of fights, especially the Yanina Dascano fights, which ironically is a former opponent of yours. Now, she won the first fight against Yanina, 4 round unanimous decision, but she lost the second one via disqualification,
Yeah.
and she got a point deducted. I remember watching this fight, and she got a point deducted for rabbit punches in the 7th round, I think it was, and then she ended up getting cut over her eye. I think it was in the 10th round, but the referee intimated that she was the one that initiated the head. It was an actual headbutt that caused the cut on her,
Yeah.
and she disqualified her for it. So, with that in mind, have you and Shane been maybe watching tape of some of the quote unquote dirty tactics that she might be coming with, and sort of what is your game plan to sort of make sure that I guess you stay as safe as you can, and it's only fist that you got to worry about?
No, I think as you go through the ranks, you're gonna see so many different styles, so many different techniques, and how people are gonna fight, right? And with women, we only have 2 minutes. Sometimes there's a lot of female fighters that are incredibly aggressive, and I think Myra Marino is one of those very aggressive fighters. She just all action. She is definitely dirty, but there's nothing I could do. I can't control how she's gonna fight. I can only control how I'm gonna react and how I'm gonna fight. I won't allow her to, just roughing me up without coming back with something. I'm not intending on making it a dirty fight, but I would definitely have to stand my own and stamp my authority early and let her know who's the boss. Hopefully, we have a good referee who's gonna not allow any rubbish and not allow any, get away with any dirty tactics. But I can't control her. I can only control myself. And I think the best Karen Dubois beats Myra Marino. I think even the worst Karen Dubois probably beats Myra Marino. It's just about turning up on the night, performing, and getting the job done. I think a win, a massive win by knockout is a statement. And that's what I truly believe can happen. It
Okay,
will.
I mean, look, funny enough, prior to your, I should say after your initial debut against Vaida Masakayata, you did have a streak, 5 KOs on the bounce, and
Yeah.
then you haven't had one since then. The level of competition you can say has definitely improved a little bit, but you've been pretty dominant in the majority of these fights. But how anxious are you to get back to that KO streak to show people that look, like I am one of these women with hands and you can hit the canvas, like if I get in the ring with you? How much motivation does that put, or are you literally just caring about the win and that's it?
Well, I think in my other 2 fights, 3 fights that haven't been knockouts, I've gotten the knockdown, and they've been big knockdowns. They haven't been like just silly like pushes or anything like that. They've been legitimate knockdowns. So it shows that I still got power, and it translates in the levels, has the levels increases. I think what people need to understand is that women only fight 10 2-minute rounds, and I think if you looked at a lot of male fights and you cut out that third minute, you cut out those last 2 rounds. And even though you may think, but it's only a minute, it's only 2 rounds, I'm being straight honest. Like, you will not get as many stoppages as the men. Like, there is just not possible. Because if you see a lot of the knockdowns and the knockouts happen in the third minute, a lot of the time the knockdowns happen when someone starts to get fatigued and they start to lose their shape and they start to get scrappy and they start, their discipline comes down and their punch resistance decreases as they get more and more tired, and then boom, a knockout happens, and that's where it happens. Whereas in the women's fights, it's 2 minutes. Everybody says how quickly the fight goes, because you know there doesn't seem to be such tiredness that happens. The fatigue doesn't really kick in, and because of that. But at the same time, I'm not saying that I would be desperate to go for a knockout. I never am. I let it happen if it happens. I always say it's not up to me. I'm gonna go out there and give 1,000% of what I can give. I'm gonna fight my ass off. I'm gonna throw as many bombs as I can throw and land as many as I can land, and then it's not up to me. It's up to the opponent. If she's got a great chin, there's nothing I can do. She's incredibly fit, incredibly skillful, knows how to maneuver herself. I can only do what I can do. And as I'm getting better, as I'm improving and becoming more relaxed, more comfortable in the ring, more comfortable fighting championship rounds, I think gradually I will start to get a real foothold on the fights and the opponents. And the knockouts are gonna come. It's not something that is like a fluke. It comes when it comes, and you just don't go looking for it.
Fair dues, fair dues. And also, I guess we must say, very well, congratulations to you, because this will be, I guess, the first fight after your new extension with Boxer and Sky Sports. I guess talk to me a little bit about sort of what the idea was behind, sort of doing that extension, staying on the Sky Sports platform, sticking with Boxer for a long period. It didn't say how long the deal was, but it did say, a multi-year. So,
Yeah.
um, especially when I guess you were saying, look, you want these belts, you want to be able to unify undisputed, and it did seem like the majority of the belts in the weight divisions that you campaign in are not with Boxer. So where was the sort of the thought process that you stick with them and they guide you to these championships?
Yeah, I think a lot of people look at like other promoters like Matchroom and Eddie Hearn, and you know, in England, I think it's Queensbury, Matchroom, and Boxer that are probably the biggest promoters out there, right? And a lot of people get caught up in the hype of like Eddie Hearn, and a lot of people have getting caught up in the hype of Queensbury because of Turkey Al Sheikh. But I think Sky has been probably the most progressive. They've been the most willing to put female fights out consistently, make them as headlines. You've seen with the all-female show. No other promotion has done that. Is willing to invest and try something new. um the money that they're paying Sky Boxer, I'm not gonna go into digits and numbers and specifics, but I can tell you right now, it's way more than what, say, Eddie Hearn, or maybe, I'm not sure about Queensbury, but I know it's way more than what he would be willing to pay. And as a female fighter, there was a massive boom. I think Eddie Hearn and everyone could say a couple of years ago there was this massive push in female boxing, and when COVID happened, there was so many female fights, and a lot of the times that was because of it was able to you were able to be able to get the fights for cheap. Like, women weren't getting a lot of money, and if there's a show, COVID's on, you're not gonna make the show isn't gonna make a lot of money. Fill it up with female fighters because they're not going to ask for much, and they're not going to, expect a lot. But now, as female boxing has improved, it's gone through the ranks, the levels increased, the standard has gotten better. We're asking for more, and now the promoters don't want to pay it. There's been a lot of complaints from other female fighters. I'm not going to name names, and they're like, I'm not getting paid what I deserve. I'm not getting paid consistently, and a lot of fighters on these other shows, they're just not getting what they deserve, and it's insane, really. So, you got Kate Taylor selling out at MSG, you got Kate Taylor selling out at Frio Arena, and it's taking Jake Paul to pay her 6 million. She's selling out at MSG, she's selling out at Free Arena, and it's taking this other guy, other promotion, to pay her 6 million. That's insane. So Sky has been very progressive in their pay. They've been very progressive in their investment into female boxing, and that's why I've stuck with them, because when I first turned pro, they were the one to put the numbers on the contract. They were the one to show me, put the names down, show me the plan of where they were gonna take me, and what they wanted to do with me. No other promoter could do that, and so I stuck with them, and so far it's been great. Like, you can complain and say what you want, but it's been Sky Boxer that have been consistent in putting the numbers down, not just talking it, but walking the walk at the same time, and putting the proof in the pudding. And I've only seen that with Sky, and so I'm happy to continue my career with them so far.
Okay, that's you've said a lot there. There's kind of a lot to unpack. Because obviously, if you did ask a lot of the general public and a lot of people, even like myself, they would say, well, the I guess the spearhead of women's boxing would have been a lot of Matchroom and a lot of their talent. But you're saying, okay, well, no, they may have started it, but that's only because it was cost effective. Now they've got more money. All of a sudden, you're saying that they're not investing in women the same way. How many women are signed at Boxer? I know it's obviously you, Karis, Lauren. Who else is there at the minute?
Well, there's Francesca Hennessy. There's Savannah Marshall, but obviously she's doing a PFL kind of thing at the same time right now. But yeah, they haven't got a lot of world champions. A lot of the world champions have been previously signed with Matthew, but I think, as you're gonna see progressively, things are gonna change.
Okay. That's something we're definitely I'm gonna have to do a little bit of a deep dive into later on. All right, so couple more things before I let you go, and I appreciate your time. So getting back to your fight, obviously next week, is there any specific thing that you've trained in this fight to obviously get the victory? I know you said that, look, the best version and the worst version of me should be able to beat Myra, but is there anything that you've trained specifically for that fight, or is it just kind of business as usual?
No, I think we're getting used. We've been training and getting inspired, and that has been aggressive. Gonna just be non-stop action from the first bell to the last. Gonna bring that pressure, gonna bring that energy. We've been doing a lot of sparring with that, and recently I've been working a lot on fighting on the inside and trying to remain as calm as possible. I think the best inside fighters are the people who can remain calm under pressure. Not let it get to them, not panic, and you can see them physically just thinking, okay, let me take a few punches, and now let me, come back with something. If you look at Gavonte Davis, if you look at people like that, they're usually very calm under pressure. And I think trying to just bring that element into my game, on the inside fighting aspect, has been very important for me. And I think I've been practicing it and becoming quite good at it. Obviously, it's still a learning process, but hopefully I can show some of that on the fight night. And if I can do that, I know I can really put a stamp on this performance.
Okay, brilliant. Well, look, two more things. Now, a bit away from you, but I just want your well, one of them is directly relating to you. The other one is kind of want your take on. So starting with that, I know that you are a I don't know if we call her a big fan or a big admirer of Clarissa Shields. I know that she's spoken very highly of you in the past as well,
Yeah,
and I think that's someone you look up to. However, she's fighting this weekend. Now,
yeah,
a lot of people have said, look, she's fighting this weekend. We didn't know. Like, no one's pushed her. She hasn't got the platform to kind of let people know that she's doing that, whether that's her fault or otherwise.
yeah,
But in the press conference, she had basically said that anyone else who quote unquote thinks they're the GOAT or can be the GOAT gotta go through her. So she mentioned the likes of Katie Taylor, Amanda Serrano, Alicia Baumgardner.
mhm,
Now, what I want to ask you is, even being a fan of hers, but she is in weight classes where there's very little talent. If we're going to be honest, there's very little competitors. There's just not a lot up there.
yeah.
What do you kind of think of her necessarily calling out women that are like so much smaller than her for fights? Is that a sign of the desperation that I can't get big fights where I am, or is this just a part of the game? I guess, like she said, you got to come see me if you want that spot.
Yeah, I mean, I think Alicia Baumgardner called her out, so I guess she's just what's the word, like throwing it back at her. But the other ones with Amanda Serrano, Katie Taylor, and who else was it? I can't remember who else. But yeah, with them two, I don't think they're ever gonna move up to 160 or heavyweight to fight Clarissa Shields. Yeah, Clarissa Shields is a different person. You know, her personality is unique. Her way of approaching a fight. You know, you don't really see women talk trash in a fight, right? And she's one of the people who've been outspoken for talking trash and saying what she believes and saying it over the top and on and on and on, and not being afraid to be the loudest person in the room and the biggest person in the room. So I don't know. I feel like, yes, for sure, at her weight, unfortunately, there aren't that many opponents, and it's just the truth, you know. If you look at Katie Taylor, she's fought Delphine Pursoon twice. She's fought Amanda Serrano. She will be fighting her twice. She's fought Chantel Cameron. She's fought, um, you know,
Natasha Jonas.
Natasha Jonah. She's fought Anahi Sanchez. She's really had a really tough ride to get to where she is, and be proven consistently that she is one of the best fighters in the world. Now, if you look at Clarissa Shields, she's fought Savannah Marshall, who was a very hard fight, very good opponent, and I'm not going to say anything because Savannah Marshall was definitely one of her toughest opponents.
Mhm.
Gabrielle something, I can't remember her surname.
Oh,
And
Gabrielle Hannah Gabriels, you mean?
girls, um, and then it's like there hasn't been consistently anyone at that level.
I'll give her. Let's give her Christina Hammer and Nikki Adler. They were both undefeated at the time as well, unified champions. But yes, I get what you mean.
So yeah, consistently she hasn't had the chance to prove herself, and yeah, I think she just wants the chance to prove herself as being the GOAT, right? And yeah, I don't know, it's just her way of promoting herself, and her way of putting herself out there is to be outspoken and say what she thinks. And she says she thinks she's the best, and if anybody else disagrees with that, come up and wait and fight me. I don't know many people will be waiting and fighting her. So yeah, it's just one of those things, you know. She's just gonna have to, unfortunately, be loved by some and not liked by others. It's just the way the penny's gonna have to fall.
So I mean, look, you may want to take claim to that GOAT status in a few years' time. I mean, how high up the weight classes can you go? Where do you think you're top out at?
I think the heaviest I'll probably ever go max is 154, maybe,
Okay.
maybe. That's it. I'm only 23, but hopefully I'll retire when I'm 30, and maybe when by the time I'm 27, 30, I might be hitting 154. So it's a little bit of time, but yeah, I don't see myself going heavier than that. But yeah, we'll see. We'll see.
Oh, okay. Now, look, last one, and I've said to you numerous times, I've said to you in person, on camera, so everyone has known you are one of my favorite fighters, have been since your turnover. You was also one of my dad's favorite fighters, which we'll definitely speak about a little bit later on. But that doesn't mean that I won't be here and ask you harder questions or give you the opportunity to address allegations that have been levied against you, right? The biggest one, I think, is initially when Eddie Hearn said that he wanted you to face Beatrice Ferreira. Your first reaction was, well, what, you want to put us on a before the bell segment and not pay us anything? That fight needs to be built up,
Yeah.
which made total sense to me. But at that same time, you did then call out what's the girl's name, the WBO champ now.
Who? Rian Dixon.
Yeah, you called out Rihanna Dixon, who also at the time was on those before the bell segments as well, and she was obviously the person you tried to get the title shot against. Eddie said again, well, Beatrice is there, Rihanna, we're going to go a different way with her. So, what is the situation with those two specifically? Like Rihanna Dixon is the one clearly that you said you wanted, and they're like,
Yeah.
well, no, you can have this champion of ours. Why is there so much hesitation, quote unquote, for the Ferreira fight? Well, Dixon's the one you want
No.
or
Okay.
wanted.
That's a great question. That's a very good question, and I'm happy you asked me. But I think I've said before. I'll say it again. Boxing, as much as we love it as fans, as much as we go, yeah, it's the greatest sport in the world, it is by far. I stand by that. It is a business, and now I think a lot of the boxing outsiders need to really understand that boxing is the business. You know, a lot of people look at Eddie and Matchroom as the greatest promoter in the world, but on the business contract side, that is the most important, and that's what stands on facts. Now, back to your question. Initially I was the mandatory for the WBC, no, IBF, I think it was, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I was number one mandatory, and Rianne Dixon was number two. So when a belt gets vacated, because Katie Taylor had all the belts at one time, correct? She had
Yep.
all the belts, and she was letting two of them go, the WBO and the IBF. And me, I was going for the IBF route. Beatrice Ferrer at this time was not at 135, she was at 130. So I was going for the IBF route. I was the highest ranked, so that was the only route I could really go. So I was going for that one. And since Rianne Dixon was the number two, to fight for the belt, it's the number one and the number two. And if one of them pulls out, then it will go down to the number three and vice versa. You understand?
Mm-hmm.
So me and Rianne were the mandatories to fight for the belt. That was ordered by the IBF. And Eddie Hearn came out with a massive statement saying he would pay me, I think it was 100K for that fight or something crazy. He came out, he's like, yeah, Karen Dubois, let's make this fight happen, 100K. Now, I was like, that's crazy. That's so far the time was a very good purse to fight for the belt, even though it isn't a lot, it still is in women's terms. So I was like, let's do it, let's go for that belt. Eddie went on a big thing on Twitter going, we're gonna pay this amount of money, blah blah blah. And then he didn't send any contract, he didn't send anything. So I was like, okay, what's up with that? And then Rianne Dixon eventually pulled out. She didn't want the fight at the time because businessly and I guess financially and boxing wise, it doesn't make any sense. So she pulled out. It was a hard fight, pulled out, and then for some reason, Rianne, I was meant to be fighting another girl for the belt because she pulled out. And then for some crazy reason, Beatrice Ferreira came out of nowhere from 130, sprung into the ranks. Now, bear in mind, this was like 4 weeks out from the fight because Rianne pulled out and I was supposed to be fighting somebody else, the number three. So I'm preparing for this, a chance to fight for the IBF world title against somebody else. And then out of nowhere, this Olympic silver medalist comes out into the ranks 4 weeks out and is bang, my mandatory. That doesn't make any sense. And on top of that, the money that was offered was ridiculous. It was so bad. It was in Mexico, a fight in Mexico, 4 weeks out, and the money, I'm not even gonna lie, was piss poor. And the fight that I was fighting for, I was getting way more, 40 grand on top of that. So you tell me, is that financially make any sense to fight
So,
Beatriz Ferreira for
mhm.
less in Mexico for the IBF title, or fight for a different fight, get paid 40 grand on top of what Eddie was offering me to fight Miranda Reyes and make the fight happen in the future? She goes to the Olympics, comes back, gets a big name, say she wins Olympic gold medal. I hopefully pick up a belt in the meantime. We earn double the amount, and it's a massive fight in hopefully England, not
Mhm.
in Mexico. So tell
Okay.
me. What makes more financial sense? And it was 4 weeks out that this suddenly she's jumped into the ranks, and I was preparing for somebody else in the meantime.
Okay. Look, I mean, look, the way that you've described it definitely makes sense. I can't remember the exact timeline. Some of that definitely resonates. But what I think that there was a period though prior to when she was quote unquote the mandatory. He did. I remember Eddie Hearn did say that he wanted you to face Beatrice, and there was a lead time, and they said, "Well, look, obviously, you like they're going to give you this opportunity." I don't think they was looking to make you fight 4 weeks, but the mandatories came down for you to fight her, and you're like, "Well, I've already got this fight," and I think it was like you was 3 weeks to the Reyes fight, and they
Yeah,
was like, "Well, if you take that fight, then you're going to lose your spot because ultimately you're mandated. You got to fight her next."
yeah,
And you and Ben, because I remember I did ask Ben about this, and he had said that, well, look, she's been out of the ring for a little while. We don't want her to stagnate waiting for the purse bid or waiting for this fight to happen down the line. Because that's what he said. He said that they hadn't had the offer to actually have the fight, but purse bids would be happening, and then there's a time when things could happen a bit further down. But he chose for you to take that fight and have that fight instead to keep active. But
yeah,
obviously that cost you that particular spot.
yeah,
Obviously, Rhiannon, she went the WBO route and got that belt. So now I guess you're on the path of the WBC because you, I guess, wasn't able to, or you didn't take your mandatory opportunity for the IBF. That's how it kind of plays out. But you're saying that that's not how it happened at all. They was actually trying to get you on a 4 week notice to fight 3 weeks from then.
that's what was told. Listen, Eddie said that he was gonna pay me 100K to fight Rhiannon Dixon. He never said not one contract. He didn't give me one number written down on a piece of paper. And if somebody says something in the boxing world, let me tell you, it means nothing. Unless you write that down on a contract, it means you can say I'm gonna pay you £1 million, and then if the contract comes around and those numbers don't add up, that person is false, right? And I think a lot of the times in boxing we play a game of Simon Says, and it's with Eddie. If Eddie says something, it's the truth, and if somebody else says it, it ain't the truth, and that is not the way boxing works. That is not the truth. He can say whatever he wants, but the truth, what was written, what was put to us, to my team, was not what he was saying. So we can go back and forth on Simon Says, and I feel like people are only gonna believe what Eddie says because of the respect that he's garnered, and the love and the following that he's gotten. And it's been deserved. He's worked his ass off to get that. But the truth is the truth, and that's not what was sent to us. We were being told to go to Mexico, which is insane. I'm a British fighter. I'm building my name in England. I'm trying to become a star in England. America I would understand, but Mexico, hell no, that's insane. To go and get a dodgy decision in Mexico on a DAZN show, that's asking to get, messed up. That's asking to get robbed. That's asking to get something really bad happen to you, and that's not happening. And then the money that was offered was insanely low. It was insane. I got more money to fight Miranda Moraes, who is nowhere on Beatrice level. I got offered way more to fight her than to fight Bia. Why would I do that? That makes financially no sense. Um, and let me get this straight. Beatrice Ferrer is an amazing fighter. We are gonna fight. She is a great fighter. Me and her will be. We deserve to be headline or at worst co an event because our fight is gonna be electric. We're gonna set the stage alive. We're both punchers. We both come to fight. We both got good skill. She goes to the Olympic, bring back a gold medal. Doesn't that fight make more financial sense, more public sense, more eyeballs onto the game? Doesn't it just make more sense than fighting her in Mexico for less money with 4 weeks? That just doesn't make sense. So I said, no, that's insane. We're not jumping to Eddie Hearn's tune. We're not gonna bend over backwards to please this dude. She hasn't even fought at 135 at that time. She's jumped into the ranks out of nowhere, hasn't had a fight. That just doesn't make. Why would I do that? Like, why would I do that? Come on now. That's
Okay. Okay, so look, let's clarify. You are not ducking the challenge of Beatrice Ferreira. You want to fight her in the future, especially after the Olympics if she gets that gold medal. She is a champion now, so if you get your hands on the WBC or the WBA, you will look to unify with both her and also Rhiannon.
The interim belt right now, the WBC. So that makes me mandatory for the WBC belt, which Katie Taylor has. She's obviously going to fight Amanda Serrano, but after that fight, I am mandated. Her manager's written to my manager, they've written to the WBC, confirming that after Katie Taylor's fight with Amanda Serrano, she either will vacate the belt or fight me. So I will have the WBC belt sooner rather than later. You know, if I bring the WBC, Bia brings the IBF, that's a huge fight.
Okay, well, I'm glad that we got all of that cleared up. I'm sure, like as you said earlier, there's going to be some people that are going to feel like the timeline's off and they're just going to believe what someone else has said, but you've had your say. I'm happy that you've had your say. I always will support you. I won't lie to you. I am a big fan of Beatrice Ferreira as well and have been since before when she was in her amateur days. So if you two do fight, that's going to be one I'm going to have to just stay neutral. I can't back anyone. I'm not doing interviews with either of you. I'm gonna stay far away. But no, look, I appreciate you. You've actually stayed on double the time that we agreed. Thank you for that. It's a pleasure chatting to you. Is there anything that you want to say to the people watching? I can see there has been a bit of a convo in the chat while you've been here. So yeah, any message to them or to Myra and to anyone else that will watch this on the repeats?
No, to anyone who's watching this, thank you for staying tuned in, and I appreciate all your support, whether you agree with me, whether you don't, whether you support me or whether you don't. I appreciate your attention. I appreciate you staying tuned and watching my journey. It's a pleasure to step in the ring and fight in front of you guys, and I hope you enjoy the fight that's going to happen next weekend. It's a great fight with me, obviously, on the card, but Zach Chili and Callum Simpson are going to be headlining, so make sure you tune in to that one. It's going to be a great fight. It's an amazing atmosphere, and I'm excited to just show out how, as I always do, put the best that I can do and try my best and hopefully put on a great fight that you guys enjoy. So, you know, have a great weekend and enjoy.
All right, Karen, look, thank you very much. I will try and next time you're in London at a press conference or a press event and I'm able to go, I will definitely try and catch up with you. But yeah, your time has been valued as always. Thank you very much and enjoy the rest of your weekend as well.
No worries. I appreciate it. Thank you. Bye.
Take care. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you very much for tuning in. I'm going to check just a couple of the questions and stuff that may have been in the chat or the comments, sorry. We will definitely be cutting this one off in a moment. But yeah, so look, I think that was a very, very productive conversation, to be honest. There's a lot of things that were addressed, some you know, stuff there which wasn't stated out in public. So hopefully we can get some resolution. But ultimately, outside of the he said, she said, who's right, who's wrong, who, you know, who's lying or whatever, the main thing that we kind of just need is for those fights to happen. And ultimately, that's all that's what I want to see. As much as I'm gonna be like I said, it's gonna be a bit of a hard fight for me to watch if Beatrice Ferreira and Caroline Dubois do fight. That's what we want ultimately. But yeah, let me just check a couple of these last. Shout out to Philip. Hey, what, you thought I wasn't gonna show up, did you? Well, the reason I'm late is because I just woke up from a long sleep after I was so tired watching the. Oh, so you went and done the late night showing, yeah? Okay, Phil. But you're young. You're not supposed to have a huge recovery after a late night. That's not what happens when you're still in your teenage years. I'm disappointed. But shout out to you anyway for being in the building. But yeah, look, ladies and gentlemen, I will cut it off there. But look, thank you very much for tuning in. Much appreciated. I'm gonna get Basis Picks up. It should hopefully be up on the channel by about 4 o'clock, absolute latest. But yeah, until then, that's another Base Talks Down, the first ever live edition. And yeah, I will speak to you guys soon. Peace.